Well, everybody, welcome back to Taking Off with Mike and Jen. Today is special. We've been on a little bit of a sabbatical. That's a ministry term for we've taken a little time off, but we're back. And today's podcast is called Life and Ministry Behind the Pulpit. We're going to pull back the curtain. We're going to tell you what it's like to be in ministry. So, this podcast is not only for you out there that might be in ministry or you're about to go into ministry, but literally for those out in the, pulpit, in the stands, watching the great Tim and Tandy Grandstaff or whoever your pastor might be do their deal, preach to you what it's like to be maybe a fly on the wall in their house or just to know what ministry is like for pastors and their wives and their families. It's different. It's not what you might think it is. And they're going to be the ones that are going to really share with us the truth. And so behind the curtain we go. So Tim and Tandy Grandstaff, 25 years, right? We've known you guys for 25 years. It really started because of our love for Michael Jordan.
Exactly.
I was introduced to you from, at that time, your lead pastor, the senior pastor in the church that we were going to, right? Brian Bloy. And he's like, oh, you're going to love this guy. And I did. I love this guy right off the bat because of Michael Jordan. And we have not missed a step since because of him. That's probably the only reason you've remained my friend. Anyway, that being said, I want to introduce them to you, Tim and Tandy Grandstaff. Tell us just a tiny bit about you guys and we'll dig into it. I got a bio to read, but just introduce yourselves a little bit.
Yeah, so you're correct. You were actually the very first person that I was introduced to when I came on staff at Westridge Church in Atlanta, Georgia. And for some weird reason, we hit it off.
We did.
And we've been friends and mentees and all the above ever since. And I guess we're on this podcast because it's 25 years later for the two of us. So that's what we celebrate right now. We just celebrated 25 years of marriage this past week, right?
I love it.
So
I love it.
We now are the founding pastors of Genesis Church in Orlando, Florida. And we've been here for almost 16 years. And so this is kind of a collab podcast because we get to finally be on the Take Off podcast, but you're in the Post Sunday podcast studio today as you're visiting us on Pastor Appreciation Month. And so this is a treat and it's full circle because we were your first guinea pigs. So we deserve to be on your podcast at some point.
You know, I think that's pretty cool to mention that is before I would say we were kind of full-time mentors.
Oh, for sure.
They were our first little guinea pigs. I don't even know, how old were you guys when we started this? Like when we first mentored, how old were you?
I was pregnant with Kobe, right? Or did we have Kobe by that point?
We had Kobe. We had been married a few years before we finally.
He wasn't older than 2 and he's 24 now. Yeah. So I guess that would be about 22 years ago.
We were like 23, 24. Maybe.
Yeah.
I think it's good to note that when I look back at that mentoring,
we weren't equipped.
No, but I think that's that's important to note that because we were ahead of them. And I think for people, people that are in the church now and they think, well, I'm not equipped. I'm not equipped to do this. I'm not equipped to do that. I'm not equipped to disciple. I'm not equipped to mentor. Not true. If you are ahead of somebody in something, and you've been through it, give back. You're going to be a positive in that person's life in some sort. Now, maybe you're not fully trained. Maybe you're not whatever you want, whatever excuse you want. Not true. Just jump in there. I think we helped you a little bit.
I mean, for us, we were newly married. We had no family, no friends. Well, we did have friends. We started to make them when we moved, but we didn't know anybody in Georgia. So for us to have older people, but not much older, come alongside us, and you guys had raised a boy and a girl. We had a boy and a girl, but we were just years behind you. I think that's very important. I think you're right. Everyone has something to offer. And for us, we thought you guys knew everything and we really soaked in. It was so nice to be able to call you and get advice from you, especially because we were two very different personalities trying to work together. And sometimes we just needed somebody to come by and say, hey, that's not how that should go. Or most of the time it was towards Tim, and we all agree with that he needed some help in how to handle different situations. And so it was so nice to have you guys on the other end whenever we just called you.
Yeah, I think what you guys said, and maybe people that have been following you guys, is the reality of like, here we are 25 years later. You guys have a podcast on marriage. You're now mentoring other couples. We're leading a church. We didn't know any of this way back then.
Right.
Yet you guys came to us and you said exactly what you just did. I remember you said, we're not professional counselors. We're not therapists. We're just like 10 years ahead of you guys. And we've raised our kids and we think we can help you out as we watch you try to navigate marriage with some of the same things that we were going through. And some of them are different. And so we stepped into like an invitation of, hey, if you come over for coffee at our house, we'll just sit down and we'll talk marriage, we'll talk problems, we'll talk resolution. And, so that began that moment for us. We still talk about it many, many times today with people. I still talk about it from, as you said, I don't use the word pulpit, but from the platform.
That's a very mature word.
And yet at the same time, we also moved on into marriage counseling from marriage mentorship, partly because you guys said you need counseling. We can't help you with some of the things you're dealing with. We need a professional. Right. So we realized that and we embraced it. And now we still have a counselor today here in Orlando. And so that began that whole path. And it's helped us because there's been so many couples that have come along and said, hey, I was afraid of counseling. I was afraid of meeting with someone. I was afraid of being open and vulnerable about my marriage. And I tell people nowadays, like, we're at 25 years because of that.
Exactly.
That's why. It's not just because I'm a pastor, we lead a church and we do everything correct and we never have problems or issues and we're holier than everyone else. Like, no, we're normal people.
Yep.
We got a lot of junk and a lot of baggage that we brought into our marriage, a lot of problems we're trying to work through, and we needed mentors like you guys and we needed professional counselors, and we still do today.
Very good. Very good. I love it. I love it. All right. Let me just read this bio real quick. It's a good one. Okay. Both of them graduated from Liberty University. Tandy in music, Tim in religion. Tim started as the youth pastor and young adults pastor at Westridge, teaching pastor as well. I must mention that. He's a teaching pastor at Westridge Church from 2001 to 2009. Tandy, mom, wife, photographer, and singer extraordinaire.
Sometimes.
2010,
Definitely.
They left us, which devastated us personally. And they founded Genesis Church here in Orlando. Married 25 years, 3 kids, Kobe 24, Caden 22, Kendall 12. Kobe has become quite the videographer, and he's also the Genesis High School director. Caden married to Owen, new marriage, freshly married, great kid, and Caden is the missions director of outreach. Kendall 12, still a fantastic little 7th grader. The church is 1,500 people, average Sunday attendance about 1,200 people, 3 services. They're partnered in 5 countries: Brazil, Germany, sunny Bahamas, cloudy Scotland, and crowded South Korea. Neat stat. This is kind of really, really cool, I think. 21 different nationalities at Genesis Church, which is especially, I think, today, super special. Just really, really, really neat. I think that's probably, in my opinion, where many churches are segregated and you guys are not. And that is really neat. I don't know, how long has Ignite been in existence, the sports and outreach camp?
The camp itself has been around since about 2017. I mean, we were doing a thing called Ignite, but we morphed it into a sports and arts camp in 2017. 8 years later, the largest summer camp on this side of the city.
Nice.
And so we partner with professional basketball players, soccer players from the city. They come in. We have 17 different sport and arts tracks. It's all free. It's a full gift from our church to the community. We don't charge anybody anything for the entire week. And that has then morphed now into an Ignite Sports and Arts Center that we just leased out and we renovated, where now we have weekly and monthly clinics for basketball, martial arts, dancing, art, baking, and all that happening as we partner with the community in that.
That is awesome. And so you've got an outreach center, and then there's also Ignite Outdoors, which is going to be located in Maine. I'm very excited for that because Jen and I are going to be a little slice of that. So it's going to be fun. You launched Genesis with no church network. You're non-denominational. You basically just kind of parachuted into Orlando and said, let's do this thing, right? You had 26 people on your, I guess you'd call it, you started in a home with 26 people, and then your very first service, you had 150 people, correct?
Yeah. The little caveat to all of that is we weren't a church network, but we did have Westridge Church and Liberty University who backed us financially.
Gotcha.
And supported us. We didn't go through an actual church planning network per se, like many might do. And then 150 the first day, and about 80 of those were friends and family from out of town.
Nice.
So, sounds good to say 150 the first day on launch Sunday 16 years ago, but the very next week when everybody left and the family and friends were not there, and there was about 55 people that returned, and some of those were kids and stuff in the nursery, we sounded like a bad bar where like music got done, 3 people clapped, and we felt like failures. So that was the beginning of the story.
Wow. With 1,500, I think you guys have done a great job. You've been in 4 different locations, and to this day, you're not in your own facility. You rent, right? Correct. Okay, awesome. And then this Post Sunday podcast, you've done this for 3 years running. Discipleship and deep biblical teaching as well. So that's the bio. Did I miss anything?
You got it all, I think, right?
All right, perfect. All right, we're going to call this first segment Called and Clueless. All right? You were called to ministry, and you were clueless about marriage. Now,
Yes, that's
I'm going to
fair.
say you were clueless about marriage because when we first came to your house to mentor you, we would go home literally talking in the car like, whoa, oh my gosh. And the funniest thing about this, though, through all of our mentoring is couples get together, they have the best intentions in the world, and they do not realize at all the baggage that they bring into their relationships. They don't realize it. They also don't realize when finances get combined, when you're living in the same house, meaning you're using the same bathroom as her and you're using the same sink and the same dishwasher. It's just, your worlds are colliding. You don't realize it. And the different personalities on top of it, besides the fact that you grew up differently, it doesn't matter if you're a pastor or you're just, come straight out of prison. You're going to have issues. You're going to have issues. It doesn't matter. And we see it over and over again. It doesn't matter. For those who don't want to go to counseling, you'll get there. Believe me, you will get there. It's like taking your car. I'm not going to buy a car and expect not to get maintenance done on it. That's the way your marriage is going to be. And just the reality of it. Yeah. That's just the truth. All right. So before we start, I want to go with a really, really, really fun story. And it's the cruise story after you got married. I want to talk about the cruise that you went on. It's called the honeymoon cruise.
Yeah.
And it's one of
where
the
you're going with this.
It's just
where we're going.
It's just
yeah.
So Tandy, I think it's pretty entertaining when you tell the story. So just tell it just to
story.
Yes.
Oh, well, I mean,
honeymoon.
I opened up with Tim and I's kind of love. Our friendship is around basketball, right? So there's no better way to start this off.
I mean, we go on this cruise. It's our honeymoon. We have waited our whole lives. I saved myself. He saved. I'm just thinking that this honeymoon is going to be just explosive with a lot of different things. But this was before social media. This was before you had access to cameras on your phone and whatever. And Disney Cruise provides a camera of the basketball court. So he was in the bathroom and I got in this cute little nightie and I'm laying on the bed waiting because this is going to be like a great, this is our honeymoon. And he walks out and he's like, hey. I'm like, hey. And he's like, hey, turn on the TV. I'm going to go play basketball and you can watch me. And I was like, are you flipping kidding me right now? But I just took a nap and he played basketball. But it was just, yeah. those were some of the expectations that weren't like, it was just, I don't know. He had paid all this money for this cruise. So he was thinking we need to take advantage of everything we can. And oh my gosh, I can be on TV playing basketball. This is the best moment. And we just,
Is it bad for me to be embarrassed for you?
He regrets it now. There's so many days, right? Like,
I mean, it's been 25 years of hearing this
All right,
story.
yeah.
Hold on.
That's the best
Let's.
story I've
all right.
ever heard in my whole
First of
life.
all, your whole subject topic makes me feel like we're on some bad game show, Jeopardy or something
That's
called
what it was like
Clueless.
for Tandy, that
it
first
And-
night of
was. It was very
being
disappointing.
married.
3 days in.
You're a young man with raging hormones.
Yeah.
She's this hot young bride. You've saved yourselves. She's on the bed looking cute and probably
Yeah.
sexy. And Tim's like, yo, I'm play some basketball and we'll, re-meet
I think
later.
that's why we're friends, man. I mean,
So funny. It's a
Basketball
First of
is
all, there's
life,
some stories
guys.
probably going to be told on this
Basketball is
podcast. I don't think everyone's heard before, which will be great for, my church and for your listeners
People
and
need
for
to know
the
you're
listeners
real.
for the Post Sunday podcast. So that's how we're going to jump into this. I see. And I'm okay with that, I guess. That was my mindset. My mindset for the moment was there was a basketball tournament on the upper deck. I could go play in this tournament. I was good at the time. I'm still fairly
I
decent.
was good too.
And there we go.
oh my God.
You've already set me up for failure on
I
this
love it.
podcast.
It's so fun.
And yeah, I was not expecting that moment. I came out. There were cameras on the boat. When you turn the TV channels, you could turn it to the different cameras on the boat. There was a camera on that basketball court. I was excited about going to the basketball tournament and possibly winning. And I thought it made sense in the moment. She could watch me play on TV on the cruise ship, win a basketball tournament.
Every woman's
Then
dream.
that would make
their
her like
honeymoon.
more turned
It
on
would-
to me.
It would get her
Right?
hot, right?
It would make
I
her
was
more
already
turned on.
hot.
I get
Not
that.
realizing that she probably already was
So
in the moment and was expecting something totally different. And we're dudes. It didn't click. Okay.
I mean,
We're newly married. It didn't click in the moment. It should have. I regret it now. We talk about it often. We joke still to this day about that moment. But for that moment,
No excuse for you, Tim.
the 23-year-old dude who, as she often says, your frontal cortex is not fully developed. It wasn't. I was thinking in dude mode, not husband mode. And I was thinking cameras and basketball, not the other thing. And so there's that story.
Okay, so let me ask you, ministry, since that's what we're really talking about here is ministry, how did it start for you both? And the second part of that question is, because you both had exposure to ministry before you went into ministry, expectations of what it was going to be like, and we'll get in this deeper, but that first kind of jump into ministry, what you thought it would be, and then right when you first had your first job doing so, and of course you're freshly married, talk about that a little bit.
So I grew up in a family that did, my dad was a pastor. We had a small church that he started. We sang as a singing family. We would go do family concerts and, sing Christian songs and do all that. We also did secular, but, so I always actually wanted to go into ministry. I think I might have even wanted to marry a pastor. We go back and forth with that. But when I was in high school, I went to a summer camp and just fell in love with camp. And I just knew that God was going to use me in some way. When I was little, I knew I was going to Liberty University. That's where my parents met. And I just wanted to I just always knew that that's what I wanted to do. So I was excited about this opportunity to go into ministry and be together. I think my expectations, my family did not have a lot of money growing up. So financially, I never expected to I expected to suffer a little bit. My mom and dad tell stories about how they didn't have food and people would show up. And it's just like all these amazing little stories. I never had an expectation of this is going to be super easy all the time. I think some of the expectations were I didn't expect when we first got married how much time he would have to put into the ministry. And he didn't really know how to put me first in ministry and balance that out. And so I think when we first got married, I felt a lot of rejection at some things, but we worked through that. I had to mentally prepare, like when a summer camp was coming up or something, like I was not going to be his number one during that week. And that was okay. We've definitely worked through that a lot, but, I think that was one of the things that I remember the most, where it was like, okay, this is a small season where when we had the kids and they were little, like I would get to go to summer camp, but my priority was being a mom to them. I could stay home or I could go on this camp, but he could not be by my side being the dad and all that. And I think once we had settled into that, when ministry, I mean, there's lots of things we've had to grow through, but initially I remember just feeling a little bit like not first. We had just gotten married. I was working full time. He was working an internship. So we were balancing a lot of different things out. I think that's important too. Like when you first get married, you think certain things, but then when you have to face them and balance them, and we're watching our daughter and son-in-law go through that now, they just want to be together, but life, she works different hours than he does at times. And she's in Brazil right now and he's home alone. So I think that was our first little adjustment in ministry life.
I'm a third generation pastor now. So I wasn't against being in ministry, but I didn't know that's what God was going to call me to do. When you have a grandfather and a dad as a pastor, you think, well, I might be doing something else. Ironically, without all the details today, I was in Orlando on an internship that God called me into ministry when I was in college. So full circle now, we lead a church here and we can see God's hand in all of that. But I wasn't against going into ministry. And when God called me, I was fully in. I think the exciting thing for me, maybe as she was kind of learning, because she came along in college, was Brian Bloy, the pastor of Westridge, was my youth pastor from 7th grade on. So he's been a spiritual father to me most of my life, not only through middle school and high school, but also for almost 9 years on staff, and now is just a mentor as we've led here at Genesis Church, and someone who supported us along the way completely. And so we were getting to join that team and be a part of that. Yet our life, as you said, was called and full chaos. It was from the very get-go, because we got married in October. We found out we were pregnant in December with Kobe. And then we accepted the job to go to Westridge at the end of December. We buy our first house in that process. We move in May from all of our family, all of our friends. We have Kobe right before our 1 year anniversary. And so by year one, we have had a child, we have bought a house, we have started our career, and we have moved from all of our friends and family. And ironically, it was our first counselor that said, you guys never got the opportunity to slow dance. You started playing Ring Around the Rosie from day one. Say it. And so playing Ring Around the Rosie, going into ministry, now she's trying to raise a kid. We have no grandparents, no aunts and uncles, no cousins, no money. And I'm trying to lead this ministry. Westridge did a great job. I want to be clear on that, of teaching us wife, family first. Brian's dad, John Bloy, who passed away, would come into the office and he would say, hey, have you taken your wife out on a date recently? And I'd be like, no, I don't have no money. And he'd go buy a gift card. He'd come back. He'd throw it on my desk and he'd say, I'll tell Brian later, but you go home. You go home and you take your wife out right now. And we remember those moments, and we remember that.
He's actually one of them. He set so many things in motion for us in ministry. He was such a good example of how to treat our staff members, to this day, 24 or 5 years later, he's doing the same thing. He sends
because of those moments.
And
so here I am in ministry, and I'm teaching students, in a room, and she walks in 40 minutes late, and youth groups only got 20 minutes left till we all go into the main service or whatever. And while I'm preaching, and this is just real, I'm angry. I'm angry inside that she hasn't come when youth group started to be in ministry with me, but she's at home taking care of a baby who she's put in the car, who's now vomited back on himself. She has to take him back in
through his pants every single Sunday morning.
And she'd have to go back inside, change him, come back
Sunday morning.
And I didn't realize this is going on.
I double diapered him and everything, and it still happened.
And I thought she's just doesn't care, or she's just, when I say, hey, we're going to leave at this time and she chooses her own time, she's doing that on Sunday morning. And so we're having these clashes because she's trying to raise a kid with no support and no help around. I'm trying to start this brand new ministry from scratch. When I got there were 13 middle school students. We met in a piece of a band room in a high school. And here we are trying to grow this thing, and we're trying to learn the nuance of each other. And we've got a baby at home, and she's trying to figure out life. I'm trying to figure out life. We're trying to make friends. We didn't go on our first date till our 1-year anniversary in Georgia, because Matt and Chris Wilmington finally took Kobe for a few hours and let us go. And so that was kind of the cult and chaos of our life early on. I still go, I can't believe we made it, because you would think that would just crumble anybody.
No, we're so different now. Like, we're so different in ministry now. It's like night and day.
So here.
I'm sorry. I don't know if we ever offered to babysit Kobe. I don't know. I don't even know if we knew that.
You definitely, when he was older, you guys, both of the kids got to stay at your house a couple, like a lot.
Okay, so. We did a little.
Yeah, you did. No, brand new baby. I mean, we didn't really get to know you
true.
right away.
That's true.
So
That's true.
Took some time.
So you already answered some of the questions I was going to ask you, but did you ever feel the pressure as a pastor's wife to have it all together?
Oh, yes. And sometimes I still do, but there's a difference when you feel it with your husband versus the people. Like, if Tim is supporting me, I can show up however, and I'm fine. But it was when I felt like I was disappointing him in ministry, or, when he wasn't understanding all that I was having to do to get there. He grew up with a mom who was, let's say, by the time you remembered, you were older. He doesn't remember what his mom was doing when his kids were little. His mom is amazing in ministry, super active. Still to this day, whenever we show up, she's cooking for everybody. Like, she's just amazing. And she just retired from working alongside his dad. So for me, he was putting those expectations on me about his mom. And I'm not his mom. I love her and she's incredible, but I'm not, at least at the time, wasn't as clean as his mom. I didn't cook. I was working full-time pregnant, and I'd show up at the house and he'd be playing video games for 2 hours from his internship. And he's like, hey, what's for dinner? And I'm literally like, okay, hey, do you know when you're going to finish my laundry on the weekend when I'm home? But, and now it's completely different. But yeah, so I think that struggle in ministry more so was the biggest turn in ministry for me was when he stopped with the expectations of, and he learned early on. And I didn't feel like I was disappointing him. When we moved here, he was very adamant that there's never an expectation for me to show up. In the beginning, there was this need for me, but, if my kids were sick, I have friends that are pastor's wife that have to bring their kids who are fevering and put them in the back room. We have done that occasionally, but not because I felt like he was making me. And I've never felt that way. I did feel like I needed to post it on Facebook so everybody in the church would know why I wasn't there. But, I think that the biggest expectation at the beginning of our marriage was that if he was disappointed in me because I didn't show up on time or whatever, that was hard. But when he stopped doing that, when he started believing in me as a pastor's wife and just as a mom and person in general, then it's been so much better. So,
wow. So looking back, now you've obviously grown, matured.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Because some of these things you're bringing up, I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember sitting on our couch in that little baby kitchen nook that we had, hearing how Tim wanted everything so perfectly. He was like a girl. He wanted everything so perfectly clean.
Do you remember the advice you gave him? And it is one of the things that throughout our entire marriage has been, if you want the floor vacuumed, vacuum it yourself. He had this expectation that while I'm raising 2 kids, I'm going to vacuum every single day. Now, nowadays we probably do that. But at the time it was overwhelming.
Still not we.
Guess what happened?
It's still a me.
They
You're
literally,
still
yeah,
vac-
he
we
still
know you-
vacuums.
Yeah, it's
All
that's
my
okay.
friends joke about it.
Yeah.
They're like, he really likes to
Yeah, but
vacuum.
I would, agree with her on that. I tell people, when I look at the mentoring and I look at counseling, even now, I tell people, maybe because I was an athlete and I'm into sports, like to me, it was always, you want to be better at your sport, then you have to listen to your coach and you have to believe your coach is trying to make you better. People look at counseling or marriage mentoring as this therapy, like something psychologically wrong with me. And I would agree, yes, with all of us, but no, you're there to help me be better as a husband, be better as a father, be better for my marriage, be a better leader. So I want a coach who's going to do that. And just your personality. And I told people this, our parents friends got to meet you at the wedding, 2 months ago. And I said, he's just the type of guy that when I would say, hey, she's not cleaning and I need her to clean better, you would look at me and you would say, hey, punk, guess what? You can pick up the broom. You can go grab the vacuum and you can do it yourself. If you want it done that many times, do it yourself.
So mad.
And so I would hate it. I would come home so mad inside, but it was no different than a coach telling me you're running the wrong play or you didn't see the pass you were supposed to make and you don't like it at the time. But if you receive it because you know you're being coached, it does work. And I still repeat that today because I go, that's what I had to come to understand. You want it done? Do it yourself. Stop nagging, stop whining, stop complaining, all those things you would say to me about your spouse. You just buckle up and be a man and go do it. And even though my mentality, as wrong as it sounds, was that's her job, that's the woman's job, that's not reality. And that's not true. And there were so many crazy, dumb, intense arguments and fights over stupid stuff like who's vacuuming and who's sweeping the floor that didn't matter in the scope of things, that were only dividing us. It wasn't bringing us together. And that was probably what was the hardest learning piece of our marriage is we are drastically different. And when I say drastically different, we are Paula Abdul opposites attract. Like that's the soundtrack to our life practically. Because when we went to counseling and we had taken this test, she sat down with us and she said, I've never had someone go all the way down the left-hand column and the other person go all the way down the right-hand column. Like you guys have nothing in the middle. Like you're just completely opposite. You're going to have to learn to celebrate the differences because there's not a whole lot that just locks you together where some people are so interlocked. There's no difference. We were the complete opposite. So we still say by the grace of God, by the goodness of God, by the faithfulness of God and of our village, we're celebrating 25 years right now together.
It's funny, this opposites attract thing, because when I look at you guys and see how different you are in some respects, and then I look at Jennifer and I see how different we are in some respects, I can't help but just rewind a bit and see how your mom was this squared away type thing. And then you came in with the expectation that your wife was going to be squared away. And I came in, but listen, I came in and my mom, not squared away, piles everywhere. And then I come to her and it's like I'm in a German camp. But in a respect, I see why I chose that. I needed order in my life. And maybe you needed like some relaxation in your life. And there's some sort of a pull towards that. Even though you're bent a certain way, it attracted you because that same thing is going on, right? It really is.
Yeah, she's wild and free. Like you guys all know that. Like no boundaries.
And you're
even
very
on a podcast like this. My mind is still going.
You're a little scared.
Oh, she's gonna drop something. She's gonna go there.
But there's a freedom.
There's
There's a neat freedom in that you're attracted to it.
100%. I saw that in her. She's always fun. She's always squeezing the most out of the moment, which now we see in our children and their personalities. If she walks into a room, we're going to make this the greatest memory we can in the moment. And that was attractive to me.
Yes.
while I'm thinking that way, I'm still thinking of all the pieces that are going to have to be put together to make it the greatest moment. She's thinking of all of the conversation, laughter, jokes that's going to make this the greatest moment. And somehow coming together with that, we've been able to do what we've done, lead the church that we've led, raise the kids that we've raised, and embrace that instead of go, oh, you're nothing like me, right? Like, she will rarely sit down and watch anything sports ever. Even the other night, she's like, I like football. And I was like, really? 25 years later, like, we're still in this.
If you had to give me a sport to watch, I don't mind watching football as much as other sports.
But she's like, exciting. All things Hallmark, all things like, and so TV shows, music differences, even where we like to go, what we like to do. I'm in outdoors. I want to sit in a deer stand. I want to go hunting. She wants to go on a cruise. She wants to go, skiing. She wants to do this.
Most normal people.
So exactly. So we look at it and we embrace it because there's so many people that will come along and go, we're nothing alike. So I don't see how we're going to make it. Right. And when we don't belong together, I chose the wrong person. Because, we just can't find common ground and we can't get along. And I think we're a testament to something different of that, not to brag, to say, listen, for 25 years, we have worked through polar opposites,
right?
And still loved each other, been attracted to each other, found common ground, and made some extreme
always
memories.
Easy. Like, it was a choice a lot of times. We're finally getting into that season where we're really embracing the differences and trying to really enjoy that and be okay with it.
I mean, for you listeners and for the people that attend your amazing church, these are sides that most people on we'll just say the outside that aren't in ministry, that are just sitting in the audience, go, oh my gosh. So my pastor and his wife, they're like normal people. Mm-hmm. They're normal people. They had normal fights, differences. And literally, Tandy, from the day we've met, she's just zero boundaries. There's just nothing. Well, you just always have to be prepared.
I have gotten better with that, I must say.
Makes it fun.
Like, it does. It's fun. It's fun.
It's fun too, Jennifer.
The thing that's so cool about it, I think, is nobody can come to you guys and say, oh, we're completely opposite. We can't get along. Wrong, Ola. And maybe that's why God put you guys together, because you are pastors and you are like, no, this is how you do it. This is how you work through this, and this is what God intended. He intended for the big joke that God has is like, I'm going to put two totally different people, male and female, together, and then different baggage, different lifestyle, different thoughts, different likes together, and you're going to have a happy marriage, and you're going to do it through me, period. And that's what you guys have done.
And so looking back now, what advice, if you could think of something that you would give both of you to your younger selves? Looking back, now.
Hang in there. He's going to figure it out.
There it is.
That's hilarious.
I don't know. I do think that just not getting so worked up, not getting so upset about some of the things that really just weren't that big of a deal. And really learning how to love him, or like see what he really needed. There was a time when I started to realize, like, when he's upset or when he's had a stressful day, coming home to a clean house helps him. So when I had those moments where I could clean or make it, even if it was just the living room, I made an effort. And still to this day, the kids all know. I'll be like, hey, Dad's on his way home. Let's pick up quick. Because for him, that's peace, that's rest, whatever. Those are things that I learned that I used to think it was such a awful thing that he was so upset all the time. But when I started to see the other side of, like, it's not that he's upset, he's stressed. And when he's walking into chaos, he cannot rest. And that's something his mom did do a really good job of. She created that space for them to have that peace when they walked in. Sometimes too much, doing their laundry at 21. No, but, yeah, but those moments for him, that meant a lot. So when I started to really start to figure him out, and we still have things we're still figuring out. We still go to counseling every once in a while, but we did graduate this year. He did tell us we do not have to come back on a monthly basis, just when needed. He said we've grown a lot. So I guess I think that would be the best thing. I could tell you what you probably could tell yourself.
I'm sure you could say that.
What you said is so key of what we tell a lot of people in general, which is, and now you can see it, not thinking of the worst of your husband. Let's say, because we're talking about Tim right now, not thinking the worst of him, that when he comes home, he wants order, not just because he wants order, but there's a reason behind why he wants order.
Yeah.
So give your spouse the benefit of the doubt, take a minute and try and talk and be like, so why do you really want it this perfect and why? And most likely, eventually, as you found out, it's because my life is chaos. And so when I come home, even if one room could be clean, it gives me a calm.
Yeah, last night we're cleaning because the marble stones are coming to our house, and their house is amazing and perfect. And
their house
she's the
so
hostess
dang
with
good.
the mostest. And so we started, we've just got our whole house. We're just decorating and getting all, and we've been on our feet all day, and we bought a new rug and for 2 different rooms because the marble stones are.
Oh no!
Stop it, God.
Please.
So we're laying the rug in our room, and he has done outdoor work and all this stuff, and all of a sudden he's like, this is ridiculous. He starts going off and he's like, you shouldn't have waited and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like you were in on this too. You're the one who went to Ross and bought 2 rugs with me. And in that moment, I was like, just shut up and don't say anything. He's just having a little moment. And so I let him get through. And I just looked at him and I said, look, nothing can change right now. Like our room is a hot mess. We've got to get this together. The marble stones are coming tomorrow. And so like, I know that you're frustrated, but what you're saying isn't going to change this right now. We're lifting the bed, vacuuming under, pulling the rug, in that moment I was like, and past me would have walked out or just been like, you do it yourself. It just kept myself quiet. And I was like, he's got to get through his little tantrum and then we'll move on. And he did in like 3 minutes. He was fine. And then he was like, I love the rug. You did a good job. It was like, see.
But what concerns me most about this whole topic right here, and I'm sure it concerns you.
I'm like,
what the heck? Did we put up some kind of expectation that you guys
make everything wonderful, and I wanted you to feel wonderful when you walked in our house. Even my friends that have been to your house, they're like, "Oh my gosh, why didn't you tell them to stay in a hotel?" And I'm like, "No, we're gonna do this." Like, I got new sheets. And I know you guys would be fine with whatever, but my goal is that you will return and not book a hotel. That you'll stay with us, but. We'll see how the night goes.
Well, just so the audience knows, we don't put that pressure on.
No,
they did it to themselves.
You just are amazing. Like Ebel Skeevers and Coffee Bar. And my friends are like, can we just vacation at the Marble Stones? Hey, do you think that they will invite us back? I'm like, it is. All my friends want to see you at church tomorrow.
I'm shocked.
Like you got a fan club now at Genesis.
I'm going to say this. It's 100% her. It's 100% her. She's the hostess with the mostest. You should. Yeah, but you're just a superstar.
You are.
Yeah, but you're
That's true.
Everybody's had some flight attendants that are like you want to scream. So you're the best.
You are
as
amazing.
long as we're clear right now. We don't put that expectation.
No. If you've been to the Marble, you can't because I have to finish cleaning it and putting up the.
She put it all together, because.
Oh, it looks amazing.
Yes, you guys are coming in. So our parents the following weekend and all of this happening because of the hospitality you guys have shown us, which I would say early on in our marriage may not have been the same. So I'm celebrating the fact of how much she put it all together. And that to me has been the thing that I've learned is it's taken me 25 years to be able to verbalize it more than, just repeat it back is I can't control her and I can't fix her. And for some of the years of our marriage, the things that I didn't like or the differences I thought were broken or things that needed to be fixed in her, because she wasn't more like me or she didn't do it this way like I want. And to learn and discover I don't need to try to control her. I don't need to fix her. I need to just let God work on me. Our current counselor says often, can do, can't do. You're spending too much time in the can't do, and you're not spending enough time in the can do of your marriage and of your life. And hearing that over and over again, we did laugh. Like we're 25 years in and he finally says, you've graduated. Like, so for anybody that's like, I think I figured out, or we don't need this.
a lot of schooling, Tim.
We're not done going to it. He said, you don't need to return to me as often as you've been coming. And that's been the thing, I think 25 years in now is maybe for the first time, at least in my life, you're now in a reflective stage as much as you're wondering what's coming. And I read somewhere last year, I don't know how accurate it is, but I think that there's a lot of truth behind it. There's 6 phases to marriage. There's the dream phase. That's when you get married, right? It's all your dreams. It's everything you wanted to happen and be done. I think we squashed that right out the gate. We never got into that dream phase because it was not just all those things. I was telling someone the other night, we had a miscarriage within the next year. And so we went through this tumultuous, turmoil state of marriage early on.
Early.
That just rocked us. And we were trying to catch our bearings and learn to love each other with kids in our life, not having family around, and just all these things happening. But then it's discovery phase. You're starting to discover each other. And then it's the disappointment phase. And that's where most people just throw in the towel, right?
That was when you played basketball.
Exactly.
So you got there quick.
That started 3 days in.
When we went in your driveway. But then there's the rebuilding phase. There's the deep love. And then there's the legacy. And I think that as I was thinking through, we've been rebuilding these last years, some of the things in our life. And now I would say we've moved into the beginning of that deep love of, I understand her more. She understands me more. Even last night we can joke, when people say what's changed or why is it different or how can you see, we tell people we don't stay in arguments as long, right?
Yeah.
It's the fear circle that we talked about early on in our marriage mentoring. We get there to an argument that would have just blasted and gone forward, and I would have been on the couch, or we wouldn't have talked for 2 days. And in a few moments, we're back to fist bumping, high fiving, carpet looks good, great job.
Yeah.
And we didn't stay there. We get out of it a lot faster. And it's because we understand that's stupid. We're just tired right now. We've been going all day long. We're exhausted. We need to take a shower. We need to get in bed. We just need to rest. Great things are happening this weekend, where in the past I would have stewed in some of this.
I would not have done this podcast because
exactly.
I would have
She'd been like, I'm not doing the podcast tomorrow. We're out. And we're not there. We're now been able, but it's taken time, and it's taken people, and it's taken not just wisdom and advice. It's taken biblical wisdom and biblical advice in our life, because we equally could have had friends come along and be like, you're right, dude. She's nothing like you. There's a bunch of other people out there that are. Let's go find you one, or she could have heard that, he doesn't treat you right. He gets mad at you for vacuuming. I know a guy that would never get mad at you for vacuuming, right? So it's the voices, it's the people, it's where the wisdom's coming from that all matter that get you to that place.
Expectations is the beginning of failure, I think. When you get married, you have these expectations, whether you go into it think that you do, they just come out because of the baggage that you have, or what you think it should be, or maybe these days, because it wasn't for us, these days, social media, what you think it should be. Oh, my husband does this, my husband does that, my wife is this, my wife is that. And then you look at your own and you say, oh, expectations. That's the beginning of failure, 100%. Lower the expectations, right? I mean, lower them, especially when it comes to this non-important stuff like vacuuming. I mean, if you've got an expectation of other things that are biblical, fine. But when you're talking about these ancillary things, give me a break. I mean, you can work on them, but it's not something that you're going to lose your mind over,
and
right?
Learning how to notice the good,
Totally.
Okay, I didn't vacuum, and sometimes there was laundry everywhere, but my kids were alive when you got home. They were happy, in that stage. And same now, he comes in. Monday's my cleaning day, which I feel very accomplished that I have a cleaning day now. And he comes in every Monday, and he's like, the house looks amazing. Last night, 3 or 4 times. Oh, that tree looks really good. You're doing a really good job. He used to never realize how important those words were to me. But he's seen the small, and he's complimenting, and it doesn't cost anything to just notice the little things. And when you sit and you appreciate those little things in each other, you're happier, you're more content. You're not looking for the negative as much because you're focusing on, what is good. And I think that is really the key. I think once we started doing that, and seeing that, or when times are when he gets upset, I notice, hey, something's going on. There are times I can tell something's going on at work. He knows that I can't handle some of the things, so he doesn't tell me. Even the kids will be like, what's wrong with Dad? He's so great. There's something going on. We know, like, recognizing the things that your spouse is going through. I think that's key, And
I think when you get those nice words of affirmation on something that he really doesn't care about, but he knows that he does love it. It's beautiful. He knows you worked hard. The little things that used to be like little gnats, you tend to let those go by the wayside because your bucket, your little heart bucket is filled.
Absolutely.
And so those things just kind of go over here.
It is.
And you are a wild stallion. You've always been the wild stallion. He's like Mr. Magoo.
Yeah.
Or not Magoo. No, Monk. If any of you.
Oh my gosh,
Monk.
that's funny.
Right? He's Monk and she's a wild stallion.
Wow.
I know
Look
what
it up,
she's
everybody.
talking about, but some of you might have
She's
to
dated
Google
herself.
that.
I have dated myself. I'm old. It's all right.
So, but before we move on, I want to make the point. This is my plea. Be mentored, go to counseling. It's the fastest way to learn your spouse and to learn yourself. And if you want to make faster progress in your training, if you want to compare it to sports, go to a coach. Go to somebody that's going to help you. Otherwise, it's a mystery. Your spouse might be a complete mystery to you. And that's why mentoring and or plus counseling is the most valuable thing you can possibly do. Yeah, it costs money sometimes, counseling, mentoring, maybe not so much. And besides that, it's painful to be in a crappy relationship.
Yeah.
It's painful. You don't want that. So go do something about it by being mentored or counseled and get to knowing who your spouse is, understanding your spouse, appreciating your spouse. That's the whole goal. See your spouse as Christ sees your spouse.
Well, it's really
Because they're looking at,
self-aside.
it's totally putting yourself
Hard
aside.
to do. We're all selfish.
Yeah,
it's hard to
absolutely.
do. I like this one. How do you balance transparency with privacy, knowing that oversharing can also hurt, especially in the positions you guys are in?
I'm talking first on this one.
I knew it. You're not even
because
going to allow her to
that's
talk, are you?
that is
I
the
know.
opposite of who we are. She is full open book
Yeah.
Yes.
transparency. She will tell the cashier deep stories of our life that she's never met until that very moment at the cash register.
I do.
And then
usually
she will
regret
walk
it
away
later.
regretting it and talk it out to me as to why she doesn't know why she just told the cashier all those things about her life or us or what happened today. No matter where we go, that's who she is. And I grew up, I don't know if that's how her house was, but my house was private.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the things that we had to understand because, yes, my parents argued, but my parents would go to the bedroom and shut the door and argue. So you would hear the arguing, and then eventually you might see the apology, or Dad would come to us and go, "Sit down, boys. I need to apologize to you for how I treated your mom." But we really didn't know that nuance. And then she comes along and she's like, "No doors allowed to be shut. Just if we argue out, in the house. If the kids see it, whatever." But at the same time, it allowed us to publicly argue in front of our kids and publicly apologize in front of our kids, to where, and this is where she always jokes and laughs, I apologize way more than she does. That's
There's reasons.
the difference. Yeah, I'm sure she would say that. But my kids have learned that. So they will come to me sometimes and say, or they have, "Daddy, you going to buy Mom flowers?" Daddy, or they'll see the flowers or they'll see the card and they'll know, what that we've made up. And so those moments have been there, but it's hard because you want to be real and you want to be transparent, and yet you also have to protect some things in privacy. And so we've had this tension in our life because of ministry. We want to be real people and we want to be transparent for our church. At the same time, there are just people that are not mature enough to take the transparency of who we are in the church. And they don't know the context and they don't know, the backdrop to something that we may share. So there's times we've had to talk about, we've got to protect that piece. And then we can be transparent. We've had to talk about it in, our friendship circles. We've had to sit down and go, "Hey, who are your 5 and who are my 5? And those are the 5 you can be genuinely you inside of. And they don't judge you. They don't condemn you. They don't try to leave the church, because they found out this about you. They support you. They pray for you. They encourage you. They're there for you when you're sick. Like in that circle, you can be you. But if anybody else comes in that circle, we got to protect it and we got to guard it a little bit more. And I've had to do that with a group of guy friends. And that's been, I would say, beneficial for us because we know the circle that we trust. At the same time, it's been beneficial because we know the awareness of protecting. And so there are certain groups of people, not that I do terrible things, just I'm more me and relaxed in front of because I know I trust this place.
Same.
And there's other places where I know, hey, I got to be on guard. They don't know me that way. And I don't have the capacity to let them know me that way. I'm a human being.
I do think there's a balance. I mean, when we first got married, we were emerging into ministry from a culture that was very private in ministry, and people couldn't relate to the pastors and the pastors' wives, and they thought they were perfect. And they, and then when something happens and they mess up or they don't show up to church, they don't see these people as normal humans. So I emerged into ministry wanting everyone to know, like, I am just like you. I mess up. I'm not clean. I like to drink a glass of wine every once in a while, in moderation. Have to make that clear. And it's not very often, but like so I came onto the scene full. I would say I'm an open book. Everyone you can ask and I'll know, but I got hurt in that. I learned some people, like he said, can handle that. There are people in our church that I know if they got to see the real side, like the funny, quirky, they might not, they're expecting something different from me. It's not like a bad thing. Some of these people just need a spiritual leader and I'm going to be that for them. I don't mind. I am, I want to be that, but there are a group, like you said, our core that I can, we can joke around. I can dance weird in front of, I can, do stupid stuff and they're not going to leave. But I will tell him, I'm like, there is, oh yeah, she's awesome. I love her. But if she's going to be one of those people that we'll go do lunch and stuff, but I don't know if she could handle all of me, and that's healthy, I think, to recognize. I don't post as much as I used to. I used to post all the time I don't want everybody knowing what I'm doing, no, but not everybody needs to know what I'm doing, but, there's a balance. You have to find the balance and
I said, I think the capacity, right? Like we have so many people that we interact with all throughout the week, the month at church. There's only a few that we can really spend that much time with, that we can build that trust. And there's a lot of people that want to have that type of relationship with us. And some have come along the way and it hasn't gone well. And we have regrets. It didn't go the right way, or we let them in too close, or we did something stupid. And we have those stories along the way, but we've really learned that, hey, God, you've over 16 years here at Genesis, over 25 years of our life in other places, you have given us a good core of people that genuinely care and love us for us, regardless of our title as pastors, as people that have started Genesis Church, of all those type of accolades. And that's been the beauty of it.
Yeah. Find friends who don't have to post every moment with you. Our friends don't post it. Like, we actually feel bad now. We don't have pictures with our friends because we literally stopped posting because we would hurt people's feelings and stuff. Yep. But now that group, that circle, they all come over and they get us now. They understand the hard part of ministry. It's not perfect. It's been a very rough 5 years with some of our friendships, but they're all, we're committed to this. And thank God, because if we didn't have the people that we have in our closer, we would not have made it this far in ministry. That is for sure.
You probably learned some of this. I feel like I've heard Brian and Amy talk that way.
Oh, I'm sure.
When people start churches, get your core. They don't care what you do or who you are. Yeah. You're just you. Yeah. And then it is
very far and few between.
And that's in life, I think, whether you're a pastor or not, honestly. I mean,
oh, true.
I used to have tons of friends in high school, I would say, right? But as I've gotten older, it's hard to have that many girlfriends that you're that close with. I'm very minimalist.
Yeah.
And we've had to learn the good and the bad of it. And so as she said, we have times we go out with our friends and we have to say, hey, just don't post this tonight, because someone's going to get their feelings hurt that they weren't invited and they weren't able to come along. And that's the hard part of ministry, that people don't understand that backside of it, that POV part of life. And yeah, at the same time, we've had moments where we really jumped into friendships or relationships only to get burned really bad. And I tell people all the time, like, we have so many people that come to Genesis with quote unquote church hurt. That's the big trigger term nowadays. I have church hurt. So I don't know if I want to go back to church. I don't know if I want to be in a church. I don't know if serving a church. I'm like, the hard part as a pastor is you can never claim church hurt. You get hurt all the time. And you're called to this. You don't get to leave. You don't get to bail on this. You don't get to walk out and go try a new church and try a new space. You just have to keep taking it. I mean, early on in our marriage, we had people that came to help us start the church that went into the house we were buying with the sellers to see what it costs, to figure out what we were going to be paying a month and how are we going to be paying that house payment. Starting a church,
to have a meeting with
and they
us.
wanted to know our financials because of all of this stuff behind our back. Took a tour of our house with the sellers as if they were potential buyers.
People putting bets on if somebody bought us our van or if we actually bought the van, which we did buy the van.
We had someone end up with her cell phone at some point and then look at her text messages along the way because she felt like she wasn't being included. So we had a lot of hurt in those things.
I think it's worthy to make a point that every single member, everybody that comes to your church has baggage. Mm-hmm. Every single one. And you can't have a relationship and go to counseling and mentor all 1,500 of your flock. And they all come with this baggage, right? And so some people care so much about how is the church spending my money, my hard-earned money. Well, number one, it's not your money. It's God's money that he gave it to you, and then you're tithing that money. Do you trust your pastor or do you not trust your pastor? Now, it's an overall statement. Yes, I trust him. Well, then don't micromanage him. You trust him or you don't. Will he maybe make some mistakes? Yes. Will you learn from him? Yes. Why? Because I trust my pastor. That's just one form of baggage right there. And then it's something else. What does my pastor's wife wear? Oh, gosh, I have to look at that. It all comes from baggage. Every single person has that. And it's so hard. Like, I feel so bad for pastors.
I say we're glad we're not pastors.
Because of that expectation, again, using that word that people have for their pastors. And it comes from the baggage that they have growing up, what they were taught, what they saw, whatever. Most of the time, not always, people who are hurt by the church bounce from church to church to church because every church hurts them. You might need to look in the mirror. I'm not saying you didn't get hurt by the church, but if you're a bouncer,
something's up.
Something might be up. It really might be up. It might be time to go get some counseling yourself and see, like, why does every single church seem to have a problem and I'm the only one that has it squared away? And that's tough. Yeah, so give your pastors a break, for crying out loud. Yes, if it's against the word of God and it's clear, fine. Right. But if it's like, why did they buy speakers? Give me a break. Well, give me a break.
To be honest, or to be transparent, because I'm sort of like, I say what it is. Michael, I learned that from him because there were things at Westridge earlier on that I would say we'd leave church.
Oh, we would.
I literally would be like, honey, we love Brian and Amy. They're some of our closest friends. But I'd be like, honey, I'm having a problem with this. And it was that kind of stuff. And it didn't even occur to me. And he just said, honey, do you trust Brian, our pastor's heart and his intentions?
Period.
Question. Yeah, question mark. And I really had to think about that. And I thought, 100% I do. Mm-hmm. Then don't worry about it. And literally from that day, I just released it. God's released it from me because I know our pastor's heart and I know the leadership that are placed within our church, that they're doing what they feel is best for the body and for whatever. And I don't even think about it.
And it doesn't even mean that your
It was a
pastor
maturity
or
thing I had to
the
learn.
staff isn't going to make a mistake. But do I trust them? Yes. So let them make the mistake. It's God's money anyway.
5
Just
years in, I sat with Brian
release it.
and I said, hey, I owe you an apology. You know, we were down here, and he said, for what? And I said, for all the times on staff that I question your motive, your decision-making. You're never going to be perfect leader. And I shouldn't expect that, but I was filtering all through what I thought you should be doing when I would get frustrated or agitated and those types of things. And I said, just trying to lead a new church and all the decisions I have to make now and filter through all the people it affects. I can't imagine at your level what that's like for you now, and in the context that I never know. So when we had someone walk through our house, it wasn't because we were buying an elaborate house. We were just buying a typical home in Florida, in a subdivision. We left during the recession. We lived with people for over a year, 2 different families. We started our church out of someone else's house because we didn't even have our own space to live in, not our own apartment, nothing. We were living with friends that allowed us to live with them. We cashed out all of our retirement from Westridge to pay off debt. We rented our house in Georgia that wouldn't sell for less than the mortgage payment. So we were taking a hit on the rent itself just so the bank would allow us to buy a house here because we were homeless in the school system. We didn't have our own address to actually keep our kids in a school system in you know, what is it, district or region or whatever. And so there's all this context, and yet someone's coming through going, well, how are you doing this? And I just realized for so many people in life, that's the reality. It's not just in ministry. It's in life. It's in marriage. It's in your family. It's in your decision-making. It's in your parenting. There's the context that has to be listened to and understood when you hear the things that people are going through and they're facing.
I think for me, like I don't want to ever hurt anyone. So I struggle when I feel like, oh my gosh, did this person, you know, can you call them? Can you make sure they understand? And the people that know us, I'm like some of those close friends that it's like, but they knew us, they know us. And that's where that just trusting them, we're still learning and we're not perfect. Our church is not perfect. We try. I mean, everything that we do, I've seen him pray. I've seen him, you know, I've been in conversation with him. His heart's desire is to do what God wants for the church. But we're not perfect. And there are going to be things we do wrong. There's going to be things that we probably, you know, a program we implement that might not have been the best choice or whatever. I don't know. But for me, like our goal, I just want everybody to know, like our goal is never to come across and hurt people or, you know, I sometimes lose sleep over that because I'm like, did that person leave because they felt, or does this person, you know, I try to reach out to everybody and let them know, but you know, you can only do so much. We're human. So yeah, I think the trusting thing is so important, you know, knowing his heart and knowing that his motive is going to be, you know, what God wants for the church.
That has to be the foundation. And you know, that's
trust that or not.
That to me would be like the challenge, me not being a pastor, the challenge to all pastors or wannabe pastors going into it is try to teach that and your flock per se understand we're humans up here. This is my vocation. I've been called to this, but I am a human and I'm going to mess up. You trust me or you don't trust me. I follow scripture to the best that I can, but some of my decisions may not be the best. People need to understand that. And you're not the Pope. And I'm not saying he's perfect, but that's people have this image of the Pope. And it's just, no, you're a failure of a person, but you're in this work, right? This is your job. And people need to understand that. So the foundational part is trusting pastor, period. End of discussion. And if you can do that, then you can be a happy churchgoer.
You shouldn't be bouncing around so much.
No, not at all. Not at all. All right. Let's move on a little bit. Just a little bit. I'm going to call this like in the fishbowl. All right.
Okay.
Because that's where you guys live.
Yes.
Every decision you make, how you dress, where you go, how you spend your money, we've kind of talked about this. And
I love that one.
Some of the questions, how do you handle it? Have you ever felt misunderstood for doing normal things that normal people do? Do you think social media has made it worse for pastors and their families? And how do you find joy in the everyday things without worrying what people might say or think?
I think we've gotten better about not worrying as much. When you choose ministry life, you know there are going to be aspects that are going to be hard. When we first got married, we did not plan on getting pregnant right away. We actually did take the job in November and got pregnant after. So we took the job before, and we were making $1,100 a paycheck, which would have been very doable had I been able to work, but I was 6.5 months pregnant when we moved to Georgia. No one's going to hire me. And I wanted to be we always had decided that if we could make it work, but God always provided. So like we had a family buy our diapers and formula in the first 6 months. And so when we chose ministry, there are things that we get to do that we wouldn't have been able to afford to do as regular job workers. Like,
we call those pastoral perks.
Oh my gosh.
P squared.
Magic
tickets, some good ones.
Or like somebody paid one time for us to go to this amazing resort on our sabbatical, and they told us to eat whatever, and we started feeling so guilty. So we started room servicing because that was cheaper, and she called and she's like, stop doing that, go to the restaurant. But one time in particular, Tim got a call an hour before the WWE big, what is it called? The big
WrestleMania.
I don't even understand. I do not understand this side of my husband, but for some reason, this is like one of the most important life moments for him, that there was an extra ticket. We have a friend that works at Ticketmaster, and we'll sometimes call him, he was like one of the only guys in a girls section at the Backstreet Boys concert because he had one ticket. And
different story for a different day.
Tim posted it. Did you post a picture of WrestleMania?
Picture of me and Kobe.
And before we knew it, there were rumors going around that he was spending the church money on WrestleMania tickets. And we actually had a kid in our church at the time stick up for him and say, no, but it was like, those are the moments that we get scrutinized. But we just stopped worrying about it, because in reality, if you would go and look at, like, we pay $100 more than our kids pay for a 1-bedroom apartment on our house payment. Like we live very but we get blessed so much. It's just amazing. I think about all the times that God's just blessed us with things that we would never have been able to afford. And
you know what I love? And I've said this to Michael over all the years that we've known you, because we've been exposed to some different pastors throughout. And we have always loved that no matter what gifts you guys get from people, and this is a hint to any other pastors or to-be pastors out there, if you're listening, you guys have never taken that stuff for granted. You don't have the expectation that just because you're a pastor and a pastor's wife, that things are going to befall you. You guys have never done that. And it makes people like us want to continually give to people like you and shower you with things because A, you're deserving, B, your job is difficult, but because you don't expect it. And there are some that, we've maybe given things to, and you don't expect anything, but there's just this, I think, air about some people, maybe in ministry, that it's deserved or expected. And this, in general, that's just an icky way to be anyway. Yeah. But you guys have always been really humble and sweet about that. And I think you've taught your kids wisely.
I always tell the kids when we experience something like amazing, like that trip to the mountains for that the resort. This is probably a once in a lifetime experience. You will never get this again. Like, just to take everything that we're given. We don't expect, it is wonderful when we get a gift card to Chick-fil-A or just a ticket to a Magic game. It's wonderful, but that's never an expectation for us, because, we're okay to not have that. We've always been okay, but we are very excited, on the receiving end. But it's just, I think when you're content in what you have, the blessings are just blessings, but they're not expectations. So
you guys are
name the 3 questions again that you just gave us. Just there was something in one of them that I forgot.
So let's see what we have. We have.
Oh, Michael, you're just.
I was ripping. No.
You say the social media made it harder. And there's another piece to one, fishbowl. Gotcha. Yeah. I was just gonna add, on the ministry side, especially for young leaders, pastors, people that are in ministry or whatever, I think anybody could say social media has made it harder, right? But right now we're podcasting and we're going to use social media to get this out there. So there's a good and bad to everything. So we realized that. I think that what it has done is, I remember when I was on staff at Westridge early on was the first time you could get video or DVDs of other pastors from conferences and things like that. And the struggle started then of, if I don't like what I'm hearing here, I can go listen to someone else there. And now it's just amplified, right?
Yeah.
I can sit with you as the pastor today, but I can scroll at lunch and I can listen to another pastor's soundbite, and man, I like that a lot more than what the pastor just told me for the last 40 minutes. That is a struggle because now you feel like you're competing with voices all over that rests in someone's hand every single day. And so you just have to come to the realization of, I'm doing this out of obedience for no other reason, not for fame, not for glory, not for the size of the church. And that was something early on for us that when we started Genesis, we just decided we're not going to get caught up in the game. Now, and I know I'm a highly competitive person. I mean, we will play basketball till 1 a.m. at your house,
right?
Proving who can beat who. That could bleed over into church.
Sure.
Me competing with this church or this pastor or this church planner or these people out of this network. And I just decided, and I had to pray and I had to fast and I'd always have to come back. I'd have to create boundaries. My human nature is competitive. I want to compete with every person, every story, but there's a context to every single story. And at the end of the day, I can compete with every pastor and everything I see on social media. But if I lose my wife and I lose my kids, I lost. I competed with the wrong thing. And so we, even in all of the craziness of our life and marriage and trying to figure it out, we have just resolved to the fact that our marriage and our family are first, hands down. I love them more than the church. They get more of my time than the church does. And there are times where I have told people I came from 2 mega churches. I could make in my own human flesh Genesis and mega church by my own understanding. Mm-hmm. That would be the worst thing I could ever do and the most ungodly thing I could do. What I want to do is have the best godly marriage and raise godly kids first and foremost at the end.
Which you've done.
Because when I'm done and I'm gone and I'm no longer here, people will attend Genesis one day and they won't know who I am.
Right.
Right. I go back to Westridge now. I just spoke this summer and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I've been gone for 16 years. I was there for 8.5. I've been gone twice as long as I was there, but it seems like I was there for an eternity. And I realized there are more people in this place that do not know who I am. Do. But I think in my mind, everybody still knows Tim because he was here at the beginning and he was here for so long. And it's not true. And so I have to realize that about Genesis. God will take Genesis and he will carry it on. My kids, my legacy, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, they matter more to me than this place does. That doesn't mean I'm leaving. That doesn't mean I'm jumping ship. But there are things that I could overdo just to get it numerically to a space. We still don't have our own building. Right. I could go get us in debt right now and get us our building. I'm just praying and trusting God he's going to give us one so we don't have to. And I'm going to wait as long as I can patiently for that to take place. However, I could do that. Guess what? It would take time. It would take energy. It would take my focus. Guess who doesn't get that? She doesn't.
Right.
And my kids don't. And they're more important in it.
And we talked about that. That's one of like his biggest things is, he wants a space where he can just get creative. And I believe God sees that. I believe God, but we don't know what next year holds. For sure. Like I told him, I mean, this sounds a little bit morbid, but in reality, like you may be dead next year. Like you don't know where God's going to take us and you're trying to create this huge thing and maybe you won't even be here. So what if that's not the best move for the church? And I mean, we hope he's here and I hope that we get to stay till we're 80 to 90 to help Genesis grow and be what it's supposed to be. But what if this is what is Genesis is supposed to be? And I'm not that I do believe that God's going to take us places, but what if this is the best? What if we're in the best and this is just what God wants for us and we're just trying to always get more or look for more or grow bigger or whatever. And I think it's so important to just always be looking for the future, because you'd never want to just be stagnant, but also be realistic that like, we don't know if the country's going to go to war. And, this is a little bit deep, but reality is Charlie Kirk didn't know that the day he stepped out on his little tour, that was going to be his last time. Now his organization, which he built, has to go in a different direction without him. We don't know. We would never want to take the church in an area that they were never supposed to go in, because we just saw something that somebody else did that we thought. I think that's the worst thing a pastor can do, is look at something that works for one church and try to create it just because it worked for that church. We've seen lots of churches fail at that. And I just want to be very strategic and careful on how we take care of our baby, our Genesis.
And the competitiveness is to look at those guys and to look at that space and to tour that building, or to go to conferences and go, until you're this size, or until you have this facility, no one sees you as legitimate, or, and at the end of the day, I step back and I'll talk with my son and I'll go, I'm a 3rd generation pastor. I've been in ministry since I was 18 years old. I've been able to see a lot, hear a lot, do a lot, experience a lot. And at the end of it all, the new building, the size of the church doesn't matter as much as all the things that God has allowed us to do to impact. And when we step back and we go 16 years in, as you talked about in our bio, we've been in 4 locations, but we're also partnered in 5 different countries. We have, this Ignite Sports and Arts Ministry that's its own nonprofit to the city. We have an Ignite Sports and Arts Center that's just a small scale of what we believe God will give us a bigger scale of one day. We now have Ignite Outdoors in Maine, where we have 21 different nations represented at Genesis Church. And we don't have a building to call home in the sense of like, this is just ours. And God has done all of this and grown it. We're at 3 services. We live stream every week. We've got a podcast that's been going around the world for 3 years. Like, and it didn't take this for it to be done. It just took obedience before God. And that's where the joy ultimately comes in. I tell people, I say, the scriptures are very clear. A man, makes his plans, but the Lord directs his steps. Yeah. And you can have every plan and every strategy, and you can sit in every conference and get assessed to do this as a church planner, or start a church, or lead a church. At the end of the day, it's just obedience. Because if you're obedient, God's going to do what he needs to do. And, I laugh now, and I say this jokingly. When I came here, I brought a team with me, 4 white guys in a very diverse city that I thought, man, this is my dream team. We're going to kill it. We're going to crush it. Within 5 years, that team didn't exist anymore. I now have a staff that I'm the minority in. God has brought people that I never met, did not know until we started Genesis Church. And the diversity and the people we've been able to reach and the diversity of our church have all come from God going, hey, you thought you had your team. I had a whole different team that I was putting in place for you. Not that they were wrong at the beginning. That's not to say that at all in clarity. It's just you were making your plans, but I was directing your steps. And now look at what I have done. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what we want to be able to say. We were obedient and we stewarded well what God had given us. It starts first in our marriage and in our home, and then it extends into our church.
It's all about Jesus. Like it's all about leading people to Jesus, being an example for him. We will one day not be on the lips of anyone's mouth. Like, they're not going to remember a Tandy. There will be people. I have a great grandfather. His name is Henry Hansen. I speak his name. He was a millionaire in the early 1900s. He was a state senator. His family would give to the poor. Like, we found documents where he was a banker. He sold people back their land for $1 when the Great Depression hit so that they could keep their land. She made meals for the poor at Thanksgiving and stuff like that. Very, very amazing people in this town of, 3,000 at that time, probably. But no one knows who they are. But they live their life in their moment, in their time. But they will not be remembered as great, important people in history. Except for maybe by me, but Tim Grandstaff is not going to be remembered in 100 years. No one's going to probably speak your name. And that's okay. Because right now, what it's about is Jesus. It's about taking every moment, small or big, taking Genesis where it's at, leading people to Jesus. If it's one person or 50 people on a Sunday that accept Jesus, that's all that it matters. And that's what we have to keep focused on. It doesn't matter down the road. It just family, legacy. Kobe will speak your name to his kids. His kids will speak your name. But there will not be people, unless you become a Charlie Kirk, that will remember Tim Grandstaff. And that's unfortunate reality. But, you know, it's all about Jesus, because one day eternity is so much bigger than heaven, or than earth. Heaven is so much bigger than what we're living in.
It made me think when you were talking about that, if you put all your eggs in one basket, a lot of people do this financially just within their own family. They save and they save and they save and they do nothing in the moment. And they're like, I want to get this big chunk of money in the bank so when I retire, blah, 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 and I want to have this amount of money and so forth, so on. Meanwhile, they've done nothing in their life to enjoy their family, to go on vacation, to create memories, et cetera, et cetera. That's kind of the same thing as ministry. It's like, do not turn your back on your family and your kids. Ministry is there. It will always be there, but God uses you, but he certainly doesn't need you. I mean, as crazy it is that Charlie Kirk is not here, God doesn't need Charlie Kirk. And so spend time with your family, spend time with your kids, make them, like you said, your legacy. Those are your first disciples right there, is your family. Ministry is going to be there. Ministry is a great thing. But for the pastors who are just starting off, don't think I need a stadium of 80,000 people. Just say, I will just walk forward. I will spend this amount of time being a pastor, but this amount of time I'm going to spend with my family. I'm going to balance my life, and God will do what God does, period.
Yeah.
I mean, too many pastors work too hard. And that's probably what I see in the very beginning with the young ones, because they get educated. They come out. It's like, all right, I just made it to the pros. I'm going to go work hard, blah, 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 blah. And especially if you're married and you have kids, it's like, I need to be spending time with my family here. I need to balance this out. And then they'll learn that later, it seems like, right? I mean, I just see it over and over again.
I had a pastor who just gave me great advice when we first moved here. He said, take time to transition your family before you take time to start your church. And we took the summer. We got here in early June till school started. And I had meetings when I needed to have them, but other than that, I didn't do as much. And I had some people like question, like, are you being lazy? Why are you not going? Guns blazing. Why haven't you got off the ground? When's your core group starting? All these things. And I had just uprooted my family of then of 4 and not even into our own space. We were living in a bedroom on top of a garage. And so we had this time where it was like, I've got to let them get adjusted to the change that just took place in their life. And it's going to take longer than the next 2.5 months, but at least the first 2.5 months, this is what we've got to focus on the most, instead of just as soon as you get here, it's meetings and it's breakfasts and it's prayer meetings and it's this and that and that. We were laying the groundwork, but we didn't come in guns blazing. And some people didn't like that, but it set the tone for us as to how we were going to approach starting this church.
There's that fleshly side of you that wanted to just rip it hard.
Correct.
180 miles per hour right now.
Yes.
I can just imagine.
I'm the very opposite.
No, and that's great, right?
That's right.
You're
Exactly.
0, he's 180. Let's go 90.
Let's go. There we go.
I mean, that's awesome, right? You
We're moving
needed
forward.
someone to pull you back.
Did.
God knew that. It's to me, it's beautiful. It's awesome. I just love it. I love the opposites. I love the differences. And it's like the more differences you have in your marriage, the more God is going to shine when you get there.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the coolest thing in the whole world. All right. So a question that came up. I wasn't going to bring this up. Not that it's bad, but ChatGPT. Speak to ChatGPT a little bit with the future pastors. You learn the old way. You know, you were like on the rotary dial phone. You know how to use a phone, rotary dial. I from my perspective, ChatGPT versus I just get my head in the Bible and let the Spirit of God, what's that 3-4 minute go? What's the advice you give to new pastors? You have some seasoned people here that were the old ways.
You guys
new
know
guys.
Me. I love learning the Bible.
Yeah, which
like
caveat,
every pastor should say that, right?
I'm literally interrupting you because you'll go on when that's good. But FYI, for those of you out there, if you're anywhere near Orlando, Tim is a phenomenal teacher. I don't even say pastor. You are. I've learned so many things from Tim, and so whatever he's about ready to say, because he does.
No, I love learning, right. and what's my wife laughs because although I love ministry, I don't know if I loved learning early on, and that really changed and flipped, and so I tell people all the time I'm a nerd for Jesus now, and so I love studying, I love the history of the Bible, I love all of that, and I always think about there's remember the movie Dangerous Minds?
Yes.
Remember that great movie?
Yes.
And then Coolio had the soundtrack theme song, and there's a line in the song that I always think about in my head, and he says, if they can't understand it, how can they teach me? I guess they can't, I guess they won't, I guess I'm out of luck. And I always think about that because obviously it was like a school system, but it's like if the teachers can't understand it, how are they going to teach me? I think of that as a pastor. If I don't understand it, how am I going to teach them? And if I can't, then they're out of luck, because ultimately that's what they're gathering for. You can say they're gathering for praise and worship and gathering because, this is what the church does. But most people nowadays are coming in the door going, this Bible, help me understand this. Mm-hmm. I want to know about this. And therefore I have to give it that time and attention. And it is my favorite thing to do. That's why we have the Post Sunday podcast, because that gives me an extra space outside of our Sunday sermon to help people understand the Bible. And that is what that podcast is for. But what it does is it takes me into the Bible to where it's not just in my head, it's in my heart. ChatGPT is no different than back in the day where you could listen or you could find a manuscript of another pastor and you could take his outline and you could then turn it into your own. And I've always thought that is a dangerous place I never want to be. This is not that I need the Holy Spirit just to give me a fresh word every Sunday, but I need to be deeply in God's word so that the Holy Spirit can reveal to me how to shepherd my church. There's the difference. Peter says, and I think it's 3 Peter, or maybe it's 1 Peter 3. He says, shepherd the flock among you. It doesn't say shepherd someone else's flock. He says, doesn't say shepherd everybody through social media. As a pastor, shepherd the flock among you. God's given me a flock to shepherd. I need to know God's word. I need to teach them God's word. I could very easily ask ChatGPT, give me a 30-minute sermon on this. I don't ever want to go there. I don't want the Holy Spirit to be replaced with technology. Right. Now, I will say, I think there's a way to use it, but you have to use discernment and wisdom. And I will take all my content with ChatGPT. And when I say all my content, I am not a make your sermon the week of type of person. If I know I'm preaching Romans 8 this Sunday, I've been learning Romans 8 for the last 2.5 months. I've got buckets on my phone. I've been dumping content, ideas, commentary, all this stuff. I take all that loaded in and I just say, hey, make this match now with the scripture, in order, so that I'm not going through and copying, pasting things back up to the top that are at the bottom or in the middle. So now I can read through everything as it aligns with the chapter itself, and it helps me organize.
It's your original content. It's your original content.
It's not coming up with content. It's not giving me content. I'm not asking it to now turn my sermon into 3 points and give me wording for that. I don't want to play with that. I don't want to mess with that. I want the Holy Spirit to help me learn it so I can help other people learn it.
Okay, good. I'm glad we talked about that. I know that's something that definitely, and I'm not a pastor, but that's something that definitely new people are going to rely on, look to, and that needs to be talked about.
Jack
so good.
And Rock are Michael's mistresses.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much.
Oh. There's a lot of fun there. There's a lot of good there.
Technology.
I know.
Good and bad with everything.
The videos
but
Tim's been creating.
I know that there's the pastor that's going to come along and he's going to feel the strain of his church that we have to get here. So I don't have enough time to give to God's word and squash that. And so if I can just get me a sermon for Sunday, because I got so many things I have to get done for this church, then you've got the cart before the horse. And you've got your priorities out of order.
The Holy Spirit
first.
and prayer
can
be left out.
Yes.
The two most important things, right? Awesome. Okay. You've been through a lot together, obviously. Life, kids, leadership, pressure, growth. What's your advice to young couples going into ministry today? Both your perspectives. What's your advice?
And a lot of them tend to be when you guys started, 20 under 30.
Yeah.
Not all, but the ones we've seen. Westridge has sent out.
And then let me just add to it, so it's a two-parter. What are the boundaries you've learned to protect for your marriage, your family, your sanity, coupled with what advice do you have to give?
I think patience is the first thing, which is very hard sometimes. I think understanding, giving each other the benefit of the doubt in situations.
Good.
Like I explained at the beginning, when we first got married, I felt neglected and whatever. And when I started kind of adjusting my mindset to, hey, this is how this is going to be. And I think we actually talked through it, and then we would talk through it before every event. And I've said that even talking with Caden as she's in ministry and balancing out this new marriage, just realizing seasons. There's seasons that it's going to be really busy, and then there's seasons where it's going to be a little bit more laid back. And that's when you take advantage of the laid back. But I think patience and having like just an understanding of each other and lowering expectations, like you talked about at the beginning, or talking through expectations. Hey, I expect when I come to a youth event that you're going to talk to me and not ignore me. And his expectation is, hey, when I show up at a youth event, I'm in work mode. But we had to come together to things. So I think really, if we could have learned just being new into ministry and not really understanding his mindset, like, hey, what is going to happen tonight? What are you expecting? Do you need something from me? Hey, when I show up, can you just at least like say hi to me and make me feel like I'm important? And then I won't expect anything else.
Communication.
Yeah. Communicating expectations before the event happens so that you're settled, but understanding that seasons, just being okay with the different seasons, the busy seasons, and that is life in general. Just that.
I would say there's two sides of that. To the pastor and his wife in ministry, endurance is your key word. You've got to have endurance to keep going. I was taken back contextually here in Orlando as to how many people did not trust that we were going to be here for the long haul. And I learned quickly that, we say Orlando was a graveyard of church planting because in the mid 2000s, there was a span of about 4 or 5 years where there were 40 plus new churches that started. And within 3 years, about 3 of those churches still existed. That's it. So the amount of people that would come to us on a Sunday and go, hey, how long are you going to be here? Are you passing this church off? Is it going to be in this location, or is it going to go on the other side of the city? We had to gain trust. So we had to endure for that, but we had to endure for what God wanted to do over the course of 16 years. The other thing is simply something I learned from my family. Ministry is not just taught, it's caught. And so from the very beginning, even when we were in youth ministry, it was all for one and one for all in our home. Let's all do this together. There's a lot of pastors that leave their wife and kids behind and go experience everything, good and bad, the church can bring them. My kids travel with me on missions trips. My family does. When we do retreats, when we do camps, we are always there all together. And so, Andy Stanley said the greatest thing you may do or be successful at is not what you do, but what you raise. And at the end of the day, we don't brag. Both my kids work at this church. That wasn't the goal. I've actually had her getting on me because I've tried to stiff arm them back, and they want to be a part of it. They want to go they get mad when they don't understand we're on a sabbatical, why they can't go to church. It's our sabbatical, not theirs, in their mindset. But it's been, we do this together, and there's joy in that. We have fun doing that. Our greatest memories are the things the church has provided for us to do, in the sense of, hey, we go to Brazil and we have to go there to get this started. I need my family to come along. Now my daughter this week's in Brazil by herself without us. They want to go back there. They want to be a part of these things. And so that getting them to do it with us.
And on that note,
and together has been key.
Letting them see the good.
The joy.
Letting them see the bad. They saw so much bad at the beginning. Us crying, tears, anger about stuff, people being mean, people hurting, but then we would talk to them through that. And then we would get to go and talk about the good in Brazil. Yeah, but this happened, but this also happens in this church. That you did a really good job. You did a really good job.
I appreciate that. So yeah, that's key, because over time you can leave your spouse behind you. And I could have easily done that. As you said, I'm 180 and she's 45 miles per hour, sometimes. And I have learned that I have more joy having her do it with me. And I have learned to let go of my expectations of her doing it with me.
Yeah.
We've gotten to a place in life where I ask her, what do you find joy in this church? You do it. I don't make her do anything, because she's my wife. She does not have to lead a Bible study. She's a phenomenal singer. She doesn't sing that much anymore, right?
You don't get asked.
And exactly. But she doesn't have that. There are some pastors, their wife is looking on social media and seeing other church planners that there's this new thing where, your co-pastor's right out the gate. Maybe she isn't called to lead at that level, but she's feeling forced that she must, because everyone else around her is leading at that level. When I hire every pastor on my staff, I've looked at their wife and said, I'm hiring you together. Your family unit matters in this church, but I have no expectation on you when I look at their wife. So you're not getting the job description your husband's getting today. Your job description is to be the wife and the mom you're supposed to be, so that he can be the leader that he's supposed to be in this church. And that's how we approach it. And that's how we approach it with each other.
Nice.
I've skipped church more this year. Last 2 years, I've had some health issues.
2 major surgeries.
There's been some things.
Months of
and then there's
recovery.
days that, because of some of the things that I've gone through, I just can't do it. I just emotionally or whatever. And he's just like, don't worry about coming today. Or, and I can't tell you what a stress relief that is, to just feel like I don't have to. I want to be a part. I want to lead the kids' Christmas program next year, but I don't have a feeling of like, if I don't serve here, if I don't, that I'm not meeting his expectations, and he's going to be upset when he gets home from church. He's so great about that. That's been such a great thing the last few years that he's enabled me to do. And I have the freedom to heal. I have the freedom to rest. So
if we're going to endure, then we have to enjoy the time and know that it's a process and it's a journey. To
marathon,
make this
right?
Another 25 years, we can't burn out and we can't be dead inside just doing things because someone else expected us to do them.
Yeah,
we have to be obedient to God, enjoy the process, love our family, and just smile at the good things that we get to be a part of.
The poor 80-year-old ladies who I love in Genesis, they are so concerned that I am not showing up to church more. Aww. Or that I'm not in every service. And they're so sweet. I love that they actually notice, but I don't feel that. I used to feel the pressure. I don't feel the pressure anymore. And I love that. It's been great.
That's great.
Yeah. So for those that are, let's say there's some in ministry that are hurting right now and they're really struggling, like what would you just say to them if we were them? Because they're out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say if you're hurting, first and foremost, I have a friend who wrote a book, and he said, you have to be able to name your hurt, because if you can name your hurt, then you won't project it into an area it's not supposed to be. So whether it's church hurt, whatever it is, whether it's staff hurt, whether it's marriage hurt, when you name it, then you put it in its place. Now you can start to ask, okay, what needs to be done in that place? What's
the book? You got to say the book.
The Thing Beneath the Thing, Steve Carter, good friend of mine.
Wow.
And so
it's a good book. I haven't read it, but
a guy with a lot of church hurt. His story is phenomenal. Mm-hmm. And he realized when I just speak my hurt, I could just speak it at everybody and everything in the whole institution of church. But when I named it, I was able to name names of people, and God, those people wronged me, but that space or that place didn't wrong me.
So important.
So important and so wise. And so the same thing for you. It may not be that the space or the place has hurt you. It may be a person that has hurt you.
Yep.
It may be a leadership team above you that has hurt you. And so you have to ask the questions of, do you stay under that leadership team? It may be in your marriage, and it may be your husband or wife. So therefore, marriage mentoring, counseling comes into play. So when you name it, you keep it in its space and place, and therefore you can identify, or hopefully identify, what do I need to do? What steps should I take? Or what do I need to help fix the brokenness? But when I just spew the hurt and I keep it vague, then I have no place to land that to get it fixed in my life.
So good. Everyone, I guess, get that book.
Yeah.
For those of you hurting.
Beneath the thing beneath the thing.
Yes.
Sounds like a
He
little
quotes it a
mystery.
lot.
Murder mystery. Yeah. You're going to murder the hurt.
Yeah, I mean, he was, real quick, and I'll just give you this little caveat. He was the guy that Bill Hybels was handing the baton to at Willow Creek, which is one of the largest churches in America, when everything happened with Bill Hybels and he had to be removed from his church. And so he talks about coming in that setting, not knowing the things behind the scene, then all of the fallout, all the damage, all the things that are being done with this church that's recognized around the world. And he's being handed this baton that he doesn't want anymore. I don't want the baton in this space if this is what it was. But at the end of the day, his anger isn't towards those people of that church and that
not the
place of that
institution.
church. It was some leaders and it was some staff members that he could narrow it down to.
Right.
And that was huge for him. And I thought that's such great advice for any of us in any area of life.
Good point. Because I was going to say, it's like the whole airline experience.
Oh, yeah.
You have one bad flight. You have one bad flight attendant. You have one bad gate agent. Normally you don't have bad pilots, but it's possible.
Oh, yes, you do.
No, but the point is, it's like, I hate so-and-so airline. Do you really hate the entire airline, or did you have a bad experience with this one person? And so you're just lumping the whole thing in there. Don't lump the church. Do not do that. And your experience, you have to kind of look at yourself. Did I have a bad experience because I'm impatient, or because the airline was late? Well, which is it? Is it the lateness of the airline, or is it my own problem? I've seen that in church hurt before. It's like, I don't think you should have been hurt there, my friend.
Correct.
Maybe you should talk to somebody about it.
I think there's just a lot of people, and with life in general, expectations. We talk to people we mentor that aren't in ministry, and it's expectations.
Over and over again.
And then you have people in church and what they expect from you guys and from people on staff. It's like, can we all just try to get rid of our expectations of each other, of friendships? It's just,
If there's a theme of what not to do and what to do, is lower your expectations
in life.
and look at your spouse, look at your pastor, look at your friends as, what is their intention?
Always.
Do they have a good intention for me? Because maybe I'm looking at this wrong if I don't look at what their intention is. Do I really think they want to fight with me right now? Do I really think, so forth? What is the intention? Those are two really big things in relationships in general, no matter what you're doing.
And giving people the benefit of the doubt, I think, is huge.
And it's so true, but it's so hard. I mean, we've been to many, many years of counseling like you guys. And I was hurt not too long ago by a friend. This friend has no idea she even hurt me. But Michael just reminded me, expectation, benefit of the doubt. Is this the normal pattern? No, it isn't. Okay, then, and you sometimes just,
and
it
softens. It softens the situation and releases, because the intention, if you think this intention of a friend for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, what's their intention been for the bulk of the time?
Right.
It hasn't been negative. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Misunderstanding, miscommunication, or gosh, give them a break. Right? You guys, I could go on and on and on and on with you.
We love Tim and Tandy so much.
It's been a very fun 25 years. I hope we're around to see what the next 25 is going to be, because not only you guys, but your kids, it's so fun to see a couple raise kids to become as awesome as yours are, and to see what they're doing now. They're awesome. They're just awesome. They're fun. They're awesome. They're in ministry. If they weren't in ministry, that would be so cool too. But the fact that they did follow in your footsteps is really cool and fun for you guys, I'm sure. And they're just fantastic. You guys did a fantastic job.
Bravo.
Absolutely. I want
Amongst your own junk, you still did.
I'm glad that we were able to.
We'll find out how we damaged them.
I don't know if we've demystified a little bit of being a pastor and being in a ministry as a wife, to be part of that ministry, to be married to a pastor, to see it from what it was like in the beginning to where it has become. I want pastors, and for people that are part of a church, to understand pastors, their wives, their families more, to give them a break, to give them that foundation that I'm at this church because I trust this pastor. I trust the staff. Are they following the Word of God? Yes. Are there things that maybe I wouldn't do? Okay, fine. Maybe they'll learn, or maybe I'll learn. I want that to be a part of what people at the church are understanding. And then for people getting into ministry, I want them to understand this is what you're going through. This is what it's going to be like. So learn from the old crusty guys like yourself. This is where I was. Wow. This is where I am now. But that's true, is you have that gray beard for a reason. I mean, yeah, you're old.
Sexy.
It's semi-gray.
I love the gray.
Didn't think I'd have this 25 years ago, but it's coming. It's wisdom. It's wisdom.
That's right.
It is wisdom. I love it. So
Just
thank
like my
you
pooch.
guys. Thank you guys so much. We're getting off the rails.
It's going to happen at some point.
I know. If we could
know
talk
this.
for another 20 minutes, and by the end, it would be like, we can't put this out. So we're going to end it here. So thank you for coming. Thank you for being a part of Taking Off with Mike and Jen. And don't forget, Post Sunday podcast. Yes. Tune in to Tim Grandstaff. He'll go deep on Sunday afternoons after the service, right?
We go live on Monday.
You go live on Monday.
Instagram and X. And then it's on all accounts from Spotify to Apple Podcasts, YouTube on Tuesdays.
Awesome. All right, you guys. Take care.
Awesome.
Thank you for having us.
We love you.
We'll see you later.
Love you.